I take photographs in my neighborhood. I think that mysterious things happen in familiar places. We don't always need to run to the other end of the world.
Photos are a return ticket to a moment otherwise gone.
Hey, welcome to the Street Shots Photography Podcast. This is Antonio.
And this is Ward.
And this is episode 195 for the middle of November 2023. And it's November 2023.
So winter went away. Winter came.
Winter came
and then
and
it went away.
Right.
So it was like in the 50s today, Fahrenheit.
Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah. I was running my
Wow.
errands, doing my stuff. I went out and did some photography in downtown Calgary with my son. Which
well,
I
it was
haven't
nice
done
enough
in
to
a
do
while.
photography with your kid. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about your...
Well, it is because of Remembrance Day. I think you call it Veterans Day in the States. That happened on Saturday. So the stat holiday is actually today. So
okay.
So there were a
Ours
lot of
was on-
people
ours
out
was on
shopping.
Friday.
There are people shopping. So it's sort of, I mean, downtown is a bit of a shopping hub. But Thomas and I were really surprised by how many people there were. I would say it's sort of like if I went out for a coffee break at 10:30 in the morning on a normal work day during the week is what it felt like. That's how many people there were downtown.
Really?
So
Everybody was just wanting to get out all of a sudden.
I think so. And well, we were two of them. So
Well, you said it was winter was here and then it was gone. And
It was
50
gone,
degrees.
yeah.
Everybody was like, woohoo, let's get
yeah, let's get out. Let's get
Because
out. Do
you're
some
going to be
shopping.
spending the rest of the winter indoors.
That's right. Get out while you can, Canadians.
Yeah.
So it was great. And we did, where there were no people, there was plenty of architecture and interesting low angle light because of the time of year. And it was like mid-afternoon we were there. We were probably an hour and a half walking around down there. So it was really good. Good for my, because I haven't posted anything in such a long time.
Oh, really?
So I think there'll be a few images there that'll be, I think, interesting graphically. So
A photo walk with your son sounds like a really nice way to spend the afternoon.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah,
Is he still photographing the little small detritus on the ground and stuff like that?
Oh, there was some great ones. You know, a milkshake that exploded that was by a concrete staircase that had construction fence and hoarding and tape and discarded ads and stuff. He loves that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
so he got a few winners, and then there's this brutalist education building that's been abandoned basically since flood downtown in 2013, and there was some nice light dappling across it, so I got some pictures of that. And
can you get inside there?
No, it's all fenced off. If I really wanted to, maybe, but I think it would be illegal.
Probably. Yeah.
So there was that, and just walking up and down. It was really good.
Well, maybe we can see some of those pictures when we.
We'll do my best to get them.
Get at least one up.
Okay, one. I'll promise to have one. There'll be more than one. I'm sure there'll be more than one. We were out there for an hour and a half. I'm sure.
Are you shooting with black and white in mind?
Yes, black and white in mind.
Okay.
Probably 90% of the images will be black and white.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where my heart is. So, and I'm thinking black and white when I'm shooting. So,
with the light the way it is at this time of year in New York, it's not as low as where you guys are, but we have it for a little bit longer in the day. But it's low, and it's just when on a good fall day. Saturday was really, really nice, and it's just the sun was so crisp, and I was like, I actually love the fall. I don't like the sun setting early. That's for the birds. I don't know where that comes from. Hopefully we'll switch that. But that being said, the light and the crispness in the air, and just because there's no haze and stuff, and you can shoot all day. Yeah, it's not like at noon the light is low enough that you can still take really nice shots, and the light is really nice. So, but when you're talking about going downtown, I probably should start thinking about going to my downtown area, some of the urban areas, just to see how the light is bouncing around in places.
If you have glass buildings, it's interesting because it does this crossfire thing and starts lighting the buildings across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
And the patterns of the panes of glass on the other building. There's some interesting effects, definitely.
Mm. Well, we have that Hudson Yards place on the west side of the city, which I think
Mhm.
is an abomination,
Right.
frankly.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, all glass towers and stuff, and so it could make. Yeah, well, we went there, right?
Yeah,
When-
we did.
Yeah, we went there.
Saw the
Done.
vessel and all that. That's
The
all
vessel,
up there
yeah,
in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that I don't like it as a separate entity as far as New York goes, and that's just my thing. But it is very photogenic, and because it's on the west side, getting all that golden hour light and low sunset light should be kind of interesting. So I should probably head out there and have some fun. But sort of envious that you get to go out with your boy a little bit and pretend you're in New York or something like that. But
Well, it's not.
Calgary.
It's definitely not that. It's it was not. It's definitely not. Although I have to say, the other day, I don't know what I was doing. I had a New York moment, and do you think I could remember what it was?
A New York moment. It
a
sounds
New
like
York moment.
New York
Yeah.
moment. Sounds like you're about to break out into song or something like that.
That was the lyrics to a song. Yeah, I know. It's a New York minute, I think. Is
The New York minute. Oh well, that's true. Yeah. What could bring on a New York moment? That's going to be. And since you don't remember, maybe we can have people who are listening to the show try to
Okay.
we'll do like a Mad Libs version of it. Like Ward's New York moment is blank. Was blank.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that will trigger your memory.
I almost got run over by a cab. No, it wasn't that.
Was that
No, I
true?
don't
You
know.
almost got run over?
No. It's all Ubers now, and you rarely see a cab anymore.
Yeah, those poor
Yeah.
cab drivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, if if at the end of the show you figure it out, just blurt it
Okay.
out. Do a squirrel moment. Just like
Okay.
I've done
I
that
promise.
before. It's
Well, I
actually-
do it all the time.
Yeah. If anything, you'll start laughing, and then you'll tell us what it is.
Yeah.
So, what are you laughing about? And so, well, it sounds like a pleasant day. Our Veterans Day, I think, was celebrated. It's on Saturday, but we did it on Friday, which I think is kind of an unusual day to do it. I mean, usually, I guess if it's we have a holiday on Saturday, they do it on Friday.
Okay.
If it's on Sunday, they do it on Monday,
Okay.
like the bank holiday part. But
Yeah.
didn't matter to me. So
Yeah.
but yeah. So what else? What else is going on? What else? What am I talking about? What
I don't know.
I
What
had a
are you
busy
talking
week.
about? You had a busy. You're working?
I did some work. Yeah, had a few jobs last week. Video work. Those were fun,
Yeah.
but I had been spending the last week up until Thursday not obsessing, but really just preparing for an artist talk that I had at the Blue Star Parlor Cafe that we would frequent for breakfast when you were here.
Yeah, this is a follow up to your exhibition.
This is a follow up to the exhibition, yeah. And we had actually talked about it, me and the owner, before we, as we were formulating the show, that we'd have a show opening and then we would do an artist talk. And initially, he was very excited to do the artist talk a couple of weeks after the opening. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like no. We got to wait a little while. First, we just needed time to generate some interest in it, and so printing up cards and placards and putting it around and stuff like that. But I had to create, my show. I had to talk about what I'm going to talk about, or I had to figure out what I'm going to talk about, and that was a challenge in some way. But I mean, I'm just trying to get my notes on screen so I can actually see what I'm talking about. There we go. So yeah, so I spent most of the week. The talk was on Thursday night, and we had a pretty good turnout.
Cool.
About 20-ish people, I think, showed up, which is in that place. It was actually kind of filled up,
Right.
and I was projecting in the back of the place. So I have a video. I took a video of it, and maybe I don't know. I won't have it ready by the time this podcast is ready, but I'll probably put it up on YouTube or something like that. Just anyway, because I want to take the show like what I was talking about and put up slides, like actually make it look good. So, but I had to think about what the topic was. And that was a challenge a little bit. So, of course, I always wait for the last minute to do things. I don't know if you don't.
Yeah,
Well,
I do that too.
you know that about me. I don't know.
I think we both fall
both
into
like
that
that.
category.
Yeah. I have a month to do something, and the last day I'm doing this. And so I knew about this show for a while, and it just took me last week to do it. So I came up with the title of the show. It's still based on my zines. The name of the show is 11218 plus, which is the zip code, and surrounding areas. But I called it The Art of Noticing, Photography Close to Home. And it was, because the photographs that I was showing and the ones I want to talk about in the show are all stuff that I photographed in my neighborhood and slightly surrounding areas wherever I could walk within an hour-ish, because I do most of the photography during a walk. I wanted to talk about, photographing one's neighborhood, but in the sense of not just taking fun pictures, but in the sense of trying to preserve a history or create a history of the neighborhood that one lives in.
Right.
And so I thought it would be good to use my pictures and the show as sort of a conduit to talk to people about doing that. I mean, I figured the people who were coming to the show were probably somewhat interested in photography.
Right.
Everybody's got a camera these days anyway. So the idea of passing along my enthusiasm for capturing the small minutia details of the place that we live in and trying to get other people to get excited about that. And so it was kind of a mix. I mean, I like showing off my pictures, but a lot of the people who were there, I asked and I said, how many people follow me on Facebook? Because I post a lot of my pictures in the neighborhood Facebook groups. And so a lot of people knew my work already. So some of the stuff they might have seen already and whatnot. But again, it was just as a, sort of a introduction to like how, what can you start to look for? So it was really nice to try to put that together as a sort of coherent thought process.
Cool.
And so of course I had to bring in at the beginning I debated about bringing in some photo history, and I'm like, oh, screw it, I'll do it. and because I thought it was, I could have gone further. I mean, if we start talking about photographers who capture the areas they live in, it's an endless list, right?
So I can guess. Well, I sort of know already, but I can guess like New York photographers in
New
their
York
local
photographers.
neighborhoods.
Yeah. I thought about putting Ache in there. Of course, I'm pronouncing his name wrong, so forgive me, French people, for butchering his name. But I figured it would be a little too, I didn't want to go that far into, with his documentation of Paris, right?
Paris, yeah.
It was Paris.
Yeah, Paris.
Yeah. But I figured I would use, the person who's his conduit into the United States, and that was Bernice Abbott. And when you were in town, we did go see the Bernice Abbott stuff, right? Or we just saw the Richard Abbott. No, we didn't see. No, you weren't. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. We went to see. Sorry, I'm getting you mixed up with my friend Gino.
No, well, there's that, but that's one friend. The other friend was your other photographer, Eugene Smith, right?
Oh, yes. Well, okay, so two photographers, yes. Bernice Abbott and Eugene Smith. Well, the Eugene Smith, I was definitely thinking about you. Yeah. In a way, because we watched the Minamata movie with Johnny Depp.
And we went on 6th and
we stood in front of the Jazz Loft, yeah. But what occurred to me was Smith had done not only the Jazz Loft's pictures in the Jazz Loft, but he photographed his little block out of his window, and that was literally just one block from 27th Street to 28th Street on 6th Avenue, and he did it from that crazy window with that torn up black stuff on it. And all the different shots. I mean, of course, I only showed 3 images, but like all the different types of pictures that he was able to capture up there, and all the different life events that were happening just outside of his window, I thought was a really good example of that. And that's just one block. I'm not talking about like an entire neighborhood or entire zip code. If he was doing the zip code, that would actually have been my old zip code when I was growing up. I think it was 10010. I think that was his as well. So anyway, it was nice to show those pictures off, because I got to show a little photo history in the process. I think that's a valuable thing. But the Bernice Abbott, I always realized with Bernice Abbott, I would like to do a deeper dive with her sometime with you. But, in the late 20s, she was doing her project Changing New York, or at least it became a book called Changing New York. But there was a show at the Met at the same time that Avedon show was there, and it was a bunch of her pictures from photo albums There were prints that she had made like in drugstores, like just small little like 2x3 size photographs.
Like drugstore chemist, like
drugstore chemist things, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was and these pictures were on display from the photo albums. So the pages of the photo albums were torn out and then framed up on the wall. And so it was like a series of pictures, but she was covering a lot of New York. And I always think that New York City, all of New York City was her, her neighborhood. Mm. And so the way she was covering some of the details, I think, what were the pictures? Some of the pictures I showed were like her photographing through shop windows, like of a barber shop, or like mannequins through a window, or like laundry hanging up on a string between tenements, or stuff like that. And that was kind of where my photography, I think, was aiming towards, these little sort of weird details,
right,
that are in a neighborhood. But I always think that I've had her in my DNA for a very long time, Bernice Abbott. So anyway, one of the fun things I did in this slideshow, well, first I wanted to talk about the fact that photographing, we're creating a history, of if you're going to do that and you're going to be deliberate about it, you can create a history of your own neighborhood. And by all the imagery that you create, it's sort of a mosaic that creates all the different parts of a mosaic that can create an entire image. But in the show, which people didn't know about, I had found this picture. I actually found it on a news site, a Brooklyn news site, but then I hunted it down on the Library of Congress. It's this aerial picture. I might have talked about this a million shows ago. An aerial picture of the neighborhood called Thurmes, which is kind of my area. It's also part of my 11218, walking spaces. Right. It's an aerial taken in December of 1907 of this area called Thurmes Park, or they still call it Flatbush. And it was when these buildings, these houses looked like they're pretty brand new. In fact, a lot of the houses still have the plaques on them when they were built, like the 1907, 1898, whatever. And I don't know any context to this image. In fact, in the Library of Congress, it didn't say anything. It just tells it's December 1907, and it says the photographer company that took it. But for some reason, someone decided, I'm guessing it's a balloon. I don't know what else would they would send up. A balloon that made a panoramic of this picture. So you can see that there's a curvature from the distortion in the lens or something like that. But anyway, it's such a detailed picture. You can actually look into, like, you can zoom up in Photoshop and you can see like windowsills and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I showed this image and nobody had seen it before. All right. And it's like, this is like, for some reason, someone was photographing the neighborhood back then. It was probably some geological thing or because the buildings were newer area. Maybe it was for the city. Who knows? There was some official reason. It didn't seem to be done for any art reasons. So, and I side placed my, one of my my moonrise over Brooklyn shots. This one, as one of the, like, not my version of it, but I'm taking the picture more for artistic sake. Of course, I'm doing my homage to Ansel Adams every time I do this.
Right.
But there's some sense of looking at the skyline of my neighborhood and placing it in time. So anyway.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so I went through, but I'll just give you some of the titles of what I was talking about. The power of observation, mindfulness. So the idea of being deliberate and being mindful when you're walking around, and so that you're in tune with the surroundings, right? Not being distracted. So part of what I'd like to talk about is that you're going out deliberately and taking pictures and not, it's okay to grab something if you see something that's really unique and grab something while you're walking with your camera.
Right.
But
that's Ralph Gibson's point of departure. Don't just go stand by the drugstore hoping something will come. Go with an intention.
Go with an intention? Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't take away from, like, I'm walking around to the grocery store and I have my phone and all of a sudden I see something that's interesting and I'll take a picture of it and it'll be part of this project. So that's fine. But I like that idea of being mindful, because then you're getting into a mindset of wanting to take pictures and looking for things and trying to get out of the mindset of destination and walking and getting into a mindset of observation. What was the other thing I talked about that's kind of cool? The fact that I was, like, in the same way that Eugene Smith was photographing his one street. When I started in my neighborhood, I started walking around Ocean Parkway, which is the street I live on, and photographing. You've done pictures of when you were here of people sitting on the bench.
In the bench, yeah.
Yeah, the bench life, but also saying that the one I called this slide the microcosm of society, one street story. So how much that I could find of life that is shown on just one street. And in this case, Ocean Parkway is a very long street and very busy street as well. But there's all sorts of things that I've been able to find, like abandoned furniture and a memorial for someone who got killed, and a lost baby carriage, and a man holding his religious beads in his hand, and thinking about all the different people sitting on the benches and all the different life things that go on just one stretch of road, so that was fun to talk about. And then, just unnoticed details, things that are hidden. I think the details tell a lot about the people who put them there, or you found these things there,
right.
like little art pieces or things hidden in their driveway and stuff like that. When you were here, did you see the old car? Did I point out that old? Yeah.
The old caddy.
The old caddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
think
talk about,
I have pictures of it myself.
You took pictures of it too? Yeah. Okay. So I used that as this was always funny because I used that as an example of embracing change, documenting transformation, right? It's the one thing that I think I photograph constantly that has been changing over the years, and I sort of know the story about it, or I know a story about it. I don't know the story about it. But what was funny was when I brought the picture up, I could hear the audience like not moaning, but there was a reaction.
Yeah. Like this thing.
Yeah, because people know about, or like it's there. It's this, giant '65 Cadillac Fleetwood, I believe it is.
Okay.
The person who owns it has two of these things that I have no idea how they move them around the streets, but there's a whole bunch of dialogue that comes up in the Facebook groups about it. People complain that it's taking up parking spots. So what? I mean, or it's an eyesore or whatever. And it's obviously some gentleman is restoring them. So I was able to put multiple shots of it in different states, which I thought was interesting because I said the cars become a fixture in the community, sparking conversations, debates, and memories. And I think the debate part was the
main trigger there.
Yeah, I think it is. But that was it was great to have those pictures as an example of transformation and stuff like that. But getting people into that idea that recording things in their neighborhood is useful because they don't know when things are going to change or if they're going to change. And if you want to be part of that neighborhood, if you care about it and live in it, I think it's probably a valuable thing to do, because also I was saying that our pictures are probably going to outlast us, most likely in some form or another. And hopefully they will. And, someone 50 years from now, just like we're looking back at, Eugene Smith's pictures or Bernice Abbott's pictures, someone's going to look at our pictures at our time and trying to figure out what's been going on. So, and I did talk a little about Polaroids in the sense of, the artifact of the moment, and that I took Polaroids a lot during the pandemic because it gave me a physical artifact of the time that it was photographed in. And I thought there was something
right.
valuable.
And it is the only, right.
It is the only. Digital. It was that too, but it was also more about the time period, and I realized I wasn't trying to push Polaroid as much as I love telling people about Polaroids and stuff like that. It's not for everybody, but I thought print as an artifact, or a book,
right,
as an artifact, even like the book that you guys made, your Between Dust and Sky, is an artifact of the time that you made it. And once it becomes something physical, I was thinking like once you go and make a print of something that you have, and maybe you write a date on the back of it, right? Or some kind of thing, it will become an artifact of that time, even if it was photographed, prior to that stuff. So I was really trying to get them to consider, also making these artifacts so that those will also live on into the future. So it was a really good chat, and we'll get some really good questions from people. I don't remember them right now, but do you have a question that you would have liked to ask me? I don't
Well,
know. I mean,
I'll
like,
ask
if
the
you were
basic
there,
one. So, yeah, and I would. That's why I didn't say I wouldn't heckle you or anything, but I might ask some questions.
you'd probably heckle me.
No, I wouldn't do
No.
that. I wouldn't distract the crowd.
No, I know that. Yeah.
Well, I guess a basic question is, I live in my neighborhood. I think it's really boring. What can I do? And basically the content of your talk is going to help with that, right? Like, start looking for the minutia, start looking for patterns in your neighborhood.
Right. Start looking at even the things that you think are boring, and recording those. I mean, we tend to always we pre-edit in our heads, right?
Yeah.
Right, because you're looking around and you're saying, your brain is saying no, 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 and then you're an hour later, I'm like, I just wasted my time. I didn't take any pictures.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is to stop doing that, to stop editing in your head, and let the I want to say let the camera drive you, but that's not really a practical thing. But to really, I don't know if there's like a practical thing to say, like, well, turn that off. I mean, I don't know what the hell you can turn off.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to edit in your head, you're gonna there's gonna be a lot of no, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is to turn that off somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect advice.
Right, and
That's
and
great.
everything that you look at that you say no to would be the one who would say, okay, yes, take a picture of it. If something does say no to you, then take it, because it's obviously a trigger. Something, you've looked at it, you've made some sort of judgment on it, and it's like Seinfeld when George does the opposite.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a brilliant episode. I don't know if you remember that episode, but
No, but it reminds me of SpongeBob SquarePants too. Opposite day.
Yeah.
Patrick
Just do
Star
everything-
decided he wouldn't breathe. That was great.
I never saw that.
That's fantastic.
Just do if something does come up, that was what drove me. It was that I would start to take pictures of the things that I thought I wouldn't take pictures of. And not everything works out, right?
No.
But it doesn't cost me any money or time.
Even in your best street session, not everything's just going to turn out.
Right. Yeah. And so there's no harm in taking it. I always tell my students, when you're walking down the street and you see something and your brain says, I wonder if that would make a good picture. But then you keep walking on and you don't. I'm like, you know what? If you say that, then you stop and take the shot, because you're going to be a block later and then you realize, geez, I should have taken that shot. And when you get back, it's going to be different. The dog will have moved and the light has changed,
The story of that photo walk will be the picture you didn't take instead of the one you did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the worst feeling.
Yeah.
Try never to have that feeling.
And, I think part of it, when you're talking about your neighborhood being boring, the other part is if you start thinking about the individual pictures, sure, that could be boring. I mean, I look at the pictures, and maybe as individuals, some of them are really good, some of them are just but together, I think as a tapestry, as part of a tapestry, and that's when they start to come together. Like, when I do all this, the fire hydrants, the multicolored fire hydrants, they're not necessarily individually all that interesting. There are some that are really kind of cool, and some of them are not. But when I see them together in sort of the method of our, I'm spacing out on their names now. The show that the German photographers that we saw at the Met.
Oh, the Beckers.
The Beckers,
Beschers or Beschers. Sorry about the pronunciation.
Beschers,
German friends.
Like them. Like doing this typology of, when you're seeing everything together. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to their work. Their work was
no,
woohoo.
Yeah.
But the idea of having multiple of the same thing, and then suddenly you start doing comparisons, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a draw to them. Like, why are so many fire hydrants painted? Why are they painted this color? Why is this one not painted? Why is this one had a different kind of bolt on it than this one? Like, there's all this stuff. So the pictures are a conduit for an exploration and an examination.
Right.
Of something.
Also, too, that composition or that putting together of all those hydrants in one image it's musical. It's almost musical.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have the quiet passages and you have the noisy passages. You can't have a piece of music where it's all loud and well defined, right?
Yeah.
You need the quiet bits. And that's sequencing a book is the same thing. You can't have it all. Everyone has to be a ringer.
That's
It's
true.
not
Yes,
it's
that
not meant
leads
to
into
be
the next
unless
one,
it's a greatest hits anthology of every, but that's not would never be my point of creating a photo book.
yeah. No, I mean there
It,
might be a good time to do a greatest hits, but you're going to be waiting for a long time to do that.
yeah, yeah, shooting at the rate I'm shooting these days,
Yeah,
long
yeah,
time.
yeah. And using those hydrants as sort of a micro version of the whole project overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So looking at all the images and items and detritus and details and whatever that I find together paint a picture of an area through my eyes, right? What I'm focusing on and stuff. So yeah, going back to your question is like, yeah, consider like obviously you're going to do more pictures over time. So like the one day you go out, you're not going to grab everything. So yeah, there might be boring things, but photograph those.
Yeah.
And keep doing it. Like, okay, well, I'm going to, and walk the same, like often try to walk the same route, not every day, but try to come back on the same route so you can start seeing things that change. Because once you start walking in the same direction, you go to the same place, you will start seeing things that evolve or devolve or change over time. And those are the things you can record. It's almost a geological response to the place that you're visiting. If you go to one place for one day, you're not going to see anything. And anyway,
every now and then on Facebook, I get like, here's a photograph you took in 2014. I'm like, that view's not possible anymore.
Right, yeah.
That building is not in the place, or that doesn't exist anymore. The old Cecil Hotel, for instance, that I shot in 2014 is gone.
Yeah,
long gone. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying absolutely, and I agree completely.
Yeah, and I think it's important to do. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but as we're moving into the winter time and people are starting to hunker down and trying to figure out what to do. I mean, it's not always good to go out in the middle of the weather, but the weather shouldn't be an issue when you're going out for it. Shouldn't be the reason, unless it's a total disaster. But like, if you're trying to figure out something to do, and you're trying to figure out what you want to take pictures of, you want to just keep going. I think it's a good idea to do that. And you were recording neighborhoods too, right?
Yeah.
That other
It's still, and I actually went and I recorded another neighborhood yesterday or the day before, just because I drove by it and it was these buildings right up against the sun. Like, well, I was doing some other things and I thought I'd just go back along the expressway and up into that neighborhood and see what I could photograph. Just a line of buildings on the very edge of the neighborhood, shot from the construction area that's not built up across the street. That kind of, whatever you want to call it, urban inevitability. There was a sequence of pictures I had several years ago, 2017. I think I called "The Future Is Calling," and it was about the growth of neighborhoods on the north edge of Calgary. And so I would probably end up making that part of that series. It's just like, there was nothing here a few months ago. Now there's all of these homes here, so I find it fascinating, maddening, saddening, interesting. It's
inevitable
part of living in a landlocked city that has nothing around it that can just grow, nothing stopping it from urban sprawl, right? There's no lakes or rivers or anything or oceans to stop it from getting larger. It's just going to push out into the prairie.
I wonder if doing this kind of stuff is sort of a solve to the feelings that we have when the neighborhoods change. We get all upset that, that place is gone and has been replaced by this thing, and all we do is lament on the old, and rather than saying, okay, well, that's, like you said, the inevitable change of an urban landscape. It's been happening forever, right? We some of us say, oh, well, the old Penn Station, for instance, that was a disaster, but okay, that happened, and now we're moved on, and there are new things to fill its spot. Not as nice looking, but probably as worthy of photography or recording as anything is.
Although it won't seem like it at the time. Right.
No, it won't seem like it at the time.
You're spending your time kind of pining for the way it used to look.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you were there and you have pictures of the old building, then good on you, right?
Right. You've had that experience at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you completely. I think, and today even like with this photo walk I took with my son, it was just like, oh, there's these things in these murals, these giant murals on the side of buildings that I hadn't seen because I hadn't been really downtown in a few months, or downtown at least to look or to do a photo walk for months. And so it was interesting to see that. There's one of a peregrine falcon, I think it was not an eagle. I think it was a falcon. And it was enormous. I think it was 10 stories high, maybe 8 stories high, of this enormous bird, just of the head of the
just the head, not even the
just
whole
the head, not even the whole bird, just the head. And like the eyeball was maybe 20 feet across. Like,
wow.
I got that in my collection. I'll see if I can get that one out for you again.
That's actually one of the things I was talking about. I did show some of the murals in our neighborhood. A couple of them, I would say street art murals. They can kind of mix together. And there was one on McDonald Avenue of this giant American flag with a snake, and I think it says, what did it say? I don't know if it says the "Don't tread on me" kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a picture of, the inevitable picture of someone walking in front of it, for scale and just, maybe a bit of irony or something like that.
Right.
And now it's been totally covered over with other graffiti, and so it doesn't exist anymore in the state that it was in. Yeah, it does say "No, don't tread on me." It was a nice mural, and the photographer did it in black and white.
Is that by the fire hall on Cortellia Road there?
No, it was it was a direction that we didn't go in. It was under the elevated train on McDonald Avenue in the opposite way that we usually didn't go. But there's that and another mural of some Muslim women that are painted inside of a gas station. It's a beautiful mural. I've taken pictures of it in a hamburger truck, a food truck. And both the mural of the snake and the food truck, they're gone, right? The food truck is part of a restaurant that's no longer there, that closed up about a month ago. So that truck is no longer around anymore. And the mural with the snake is now covered over with graffiti, and now trucks are in front of it, and you can't really see it anymore. So again, it's this transient thing. It's great that you recorded those murals in the city, because again, at some point they won't be around, and I don't know, there's something about it, and I might sound like a broken record here about this kind of stuff, and it's not the only kind of photography I want to do, but it's I'm capable of doing it, and I don't see why I ought not to.
And it has value in your viewership, and at this at the Blue Star, and with the group that attended, they wanted to see and hear you speak. So I think that's
on top
good
of
affirmation.
That, it is. And on top of that, because I tried to push this out, I got called. I pushed this out with like a lot of press releases to blogs and stuff like that. And I have a Facebook friend who is the meteorologist at News 12, which is a local news network. They've got, I think, multiple News 12 Bronx, News 12 Brooklyn, News 12 Long Island.
I see. Okay.
So he's part of News 12 Brooklyn, and he likes my pictures, and so we talk a lot. And I asked him, I said, "Can you tell anybody at News 12 if they're interested in coming down and seeing the show?" I also want to push the show, not just the show. I'm not into just pushing myself, but the cafe, Blue Star. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who owns it. His name is Sherman, and he's made the space available to me as an art gallery, and he's going to be doing that more. And I think as a community space, and what he's doing for the community is great. And I really would want to get the press out there to hey, have a look. This is what's going on in this little neck of the woods in Brooklyn, which I don't think there's a lot of, we've had notorious things happen in our neighborhood, which I won't talk about, but it's the good news.
Yeah.
So this is Thursday. We're recording on Monday. So this was last Thursday that I had the talk, and I got an email from them on Friday saying, from the news company, from the News 12, saying, "We missed your talk, but we want to know how long the show is up for." And I said, "It's until January. And if you want to, here's my number. And if you want to call me and talk to me about it, I'm happy. I'm available all the time." And then they called me on Saturday and say, "Are you available today?" And I was like, okay, sure. we'll come down at 3:00. I'm like, what do you mean? Like interview me? Like, yeah, we'll give a camera and interview and stuff like that. And I'm like, fine. Cool. So I called up Sherman at Blue Star and said, hey, are we cool for having the press here? And he's like, yeah, no problem. So 3:30, I'm sitting there, a reporter comes in. These
and
days.
This is for the 6:00 news, probably.
It was for the 10 p.m. 10 p.m.
For the
news,
10
actually.
p.m. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be from some later segment of like lifestyles in Brooklyn or something like that. She said, no, it's for tonight. I was like, boy, you're going to be a fast editor. And because it's a small news station, they do run and gun stuff with a single reporter. So she's setting up the camera, and she's recording the sound and whatnot. So feelings about that anyway. But she was really nice. What was her name? Asha, I'm probably pronouncing her wrong, Asha McKenzie. And she knew the meteorologist. He just recently moved from Brooklyn to do Brooklyn or Brooklyn weather to New Jersey. So he's a trader. He moved,
but he's still working for the station, or
it's
he's
still the same
now?
Station. Yeah, same station.
Oh,
it's News 12. It's News 12. Not. It's just he just shifted. And she was also an anchor with him, so she knew him. It's like, I'm like, boy, he moved to New Jersey. I said, what a traitor. He said, yeah, I know, I miss him. Anyway, I'll put the video in the show notes so that people can watch. But they made a little great 3-minute segment about it. Cool. And what was really funny was at the beginning of the 10 o'clock segment, there was like the news about this thing and the news about that thing. And a photographer in Brooklyn, like I was the third thing. And cool. In that, I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't even expecting that. So nice. she talked to, and again, it was talking about like how one photographer is, looking around and seeing the beauty and they said the masterpieces of what was around. So I was, and then they got Sherman on too. They talked to him, although they didn't put his name there. Yeah. So I fire up my web browser at 10 o'clock at night, and I had to I ended up don't tell anybody, but I screen recorded it.
Oh,
because I didn't know if they were going to put a link up. She said she would send me a link, and so there was a link, but I don't know if everybody
it was just for the segment or for the whole broadcast?
Yeah, they break down all the segments and links, and actually I think they basically wrote down what she said in the whole thing, and it was part of the text. I don't know if I'll put the link in the notes as well. I don't know if it's only local. Like if I sent it to you, I don't know if you can see it because it's News 12 or if it's just a.
I think it's a broadcast news, so it should be public. I think I should be able to.
It should be public, okay. But I would wish she would have white balanced the camera a little bit better because I look kind of like a zombie. So I took the clip. I took the YouTube clip and I tried to color correct it a little bit to give it some warmth and stuff like that. And to be fair, that Sherman needs to work on his lighting in the Blue Star. It's a little too.
Such a critic.
I am a critic. Well, but you go into a place you want warm light.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah, you'd be the first one to say, "Oh, really? I should change the lighting." I'm like, yeah, you should change your lighting. So it was a good experience, and I liked that voice. My voice of what I want to do is getting amplified. And again, I'm not gaining anything. I mean, of course, there's a part of me that would say, geez, I really like being on TV for a while, but I've done this stuff before. It's like, it's nothing new. It was kind of fun to do it. Yeah. But it doesn't serve my ego totally. Like I need all this kind of stuff, but
but I mean, the zines, I see that the same impulse in your zines, right? You want to get that stuff out there. You want to show, you want to share, right?
Yeah. And I want to inspire, I want people to do more of it too. Like I like that idea that, if maybe one or two people continue to do this because they saw my work or heard what I was talking about, right. And then they do that, and then it goes on to other people. In fact, actually, my friend Leslie was there, and she said something nice in the sense of like she likes my fire hydrant pictures, and now she's finding herself looking at fire hydrants differently. Cool. And it's like a small thing like that. And I'm obsessing about fire hydrants. Or who cares? I mean, I think they're really cool looking. So, and they all have different dates on them too. Some of them, I found one. I should have photographed. Yeah, and I should have photographed the dates on them. Some of them are painted so much that you can't see the dates. But like one was like 1907 or something like that. Anyway, it's the same design forever. But to have that effect on somebody that they can start to see other things and details, that is where that's the reward, and especially if someone shows me the work that they've done. I get that kind of reward when I run a photo class and someone comes back with a picture that like, oh, they paid attention to what I was talking about. Not my picture maybe, but like someone else's picture that I showed on the screen or something like that. And they're like, that made an impact. And that really, that's the feeling. That's the excitement and happiness I get from it.
That's great.
So I sort of threw it out there that maybe there would be I might try to start you guys have beers and cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if I can start a coffee and cameras
Cool
thing. And what do you guys do? It once a week or once every other week?
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? Yeah.
I
thought maybe I would go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just a small group of us get together.
How many people?
It's as much right now there's only 6.
That's a nice number.
Yeah, and it's we get together. It's a nice cadence. You're like, okay, I can do this. It's sort of like date night with your wife, right? It's just something you do that you can look forward to.
Yeah.
And get you out of the house and build a peculiar skill like learning different beers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, at least you have that. Yeah.
It's funny. I went out with my wife and son to a restaurant that I had been to as part of the Beers and Cameras pub crawl kind of thing. And I'm like, sit down and I'm like, these are the beers that are good, that I think you will be good. And this hamburger is good. And the black bean burger is good. I'm like, I'm all full of recommendations. Like she doesn't need to, she's just going to order whatever she wants. She doesn't need to sit down and listen to her husband rattle off all of this, Yeah, I get the look, and then like I guess she's just gonna order whatever she's gonna order. It's fine. We're good.
Well, it sounds like the beers are just as important as the cameras.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For the evening, yeah, that's what you're going over what's on tap list for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we'd have the same thing with the coffees and cameras because it's not quite of a coffee taster thing there, but I think it's a catchy name.
Yeah.
So I am working on a logo now. But I thought
cool.
what I would, I would do is, in fact, I told the people who were there, it's like, if anybody's interested in doing something like that, and maybe even we can do a collective magazine with more neighborhood pictures. I said that would be kind of a great thing to do. So a collaboration with other people. And it sounds like a great winter thing to do, or when everybody's sort of hunkered down, don't know what to do, or depressed because there's no light or something like that. I figured it might be worth a shot. So so that was my week.
No, that's cool. I'll do more talking next time, I promise.
Well, we did have a topic to talk about, but I want to give it some
give it some
good thought and time that it deserves. Maybe we can do a little a little taster here, but the hints will be, without giving something away, it does have something to do with our photo diaries, or at least the way I'm recording this thing that we wanted to talk about. That's all I'll say. Maybe we'll do it next time.
Okay.
We have a topic for the next time, and then maybe we can actually share some of the things that we're doing. Anyway, I'm talking about it too much and I'm building it up too much, so I don't want to do that. Anyway, that's all I've got. I think we have a show here.
All right.
Yeah.
What
do you think? Yeah.
I think we're good.
So that means I have to come up with a new name for the show. I guess I was going to name it for the. Oh, whatever. All right. So
that's just how it goes.
Okay. So where are we going to find you in the world?
You can find me on Vero and Twitter, now called X, at WRosinPhoto. I'm on Instagram at Ward Rosin Fine Art. You can find me on Facebook at Ward Rosin Photo. And my website is rosin.ca, rosin.ca. And my little business where I sell adapters and lenses for Sony and Fuji cameras. That's called Ornis Photo, ORNIS.photo. And so, Antonio, where can we find you?
All right. So Vero and Flickr and X, which I'm never going to talk on anymore, at AM Rosario. My new Instagram account is at AM Rosario Photo, PHOTO. Website is amrosario.com. Our website is streetshots.photography. Subscribe to our Substack newsletter. I got an idea for a newsletter to go out. So streetshots.substack.com. And if you want to support the show, soon we'll have our zine ready. You gotta write your stuff up.
Yeah,
and
but
until then, buymeacoffee.com/Antonio Rosario. If anyone wants to support the show somehow, that'd be great. But even just reaching out, I've had a few people reach out to me on Vero and Instagram and say, hey, good show, and that really means a lot. So yeah, drop a line, say hi, whether you like the show or not, and just say hi. So cool. All right. Well, that's it. The next one will be after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my birthday.
Thanksgiving is your birthday.
The actual day itself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the double whammy. Do you get double turkey or something?
I don't know. That's going to be a whole nother story. We're going to... Anyway, it's a whole... We'll talk about that.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
All
right.
Friend.
But for those of us, we'll see. You already had your Thanksgiving, right? So
yeah, it was a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And but for those we'll see you guys after America Thanksgiving. And it's good talking to you tonight, Ward.
Yeah, you too. As always, my friend.
As always, yeah. So good night to you and good night to everybody. Ciao.
See you later. Bye-bye. I'm trying to think. I had a New York moment. There was something where
yeah, tell me the New York moment.
No, I can't remember it. If I could remember, I can tell you.
So how do you know it was a New York moment if you can't remember
because I was I wanted to tell Antonio, and I wrote it in my little, my little faulty hard drive here, and now I can't rember what it is.
Now you got me really curious. You're going to have to.
Oh no! Well, it's not. No,
at the end of the show, you're
going to
build
it up that much. There's no way.
At the end of the show, you're going to say, "Oh, I remember what it is."
Yeah.
And, I'm going to have to say, "Well, but what's the context? A New York minute that you forgot." New York.
Yeah. Well, it's
What was the feeling of it? Maybe tell me the feeling.
The feeling of it was as if we were walking along Broadway, here's a moment of whatever. It was
nice.
like that kind of thing.